the whole purpose of this is a really relaxed opportunity to get inside, your head around the whole search process, just to get an insight that perhaps you wouldn't ordinarily be able to get with your customers. So if you can be as open and honest as you can, that'd be great. That'd be marvelous.
Absolutely.
Jolly good. And then, so shameless plug. So Ally is a specialist recruitment and search, business development and candidate research company. And we like to think we're a little bit different because we offer extremely well-trained and highly competent, dedicated analytical resource, if you like. There's a load of other things we like to think we do a bit differently, but I'm only allowed so long in these things before you lose people's interest, right? So that's just a brief plug on Ally. Before we even start, perhaps if you wouldn't mind sort of giving us a bit of a background on you and your accomplishments today, so people know who they're talking to.
My background has really been in business and financial information and data for the past 25, 30 odd years. And started off with some of the bigger guns, like the Thomson Reuterses, but then ended up working with a business called Merger Market, which then went on to be owned by the Financial Times. I was on the board there for a short amount of time until we then bought Merger Market out. We were owned by BC Partners and later on GIC, and eventually exited the business back in July 2019 to Ion Group, where the business continues to flourish, and it's working alongside businesses like Dealogic.
Great, Han. Well, look, I'm just going to get stuck in then, and just to remind you, please, just if you can give us a personal as a perspective as possible, that'd be great. So really, it's just that direct question. When you're there, you've just got the budget. The board's given you approval, and you're ideally about to make a big heavyweight hire. What's sort of going on inside your head from maybe even from a business and a personal perspective?
So lots of things, weighing up lots of ideas and options when you're looking for that quite senior candidate. When you're clearly using a search firm, you're going to be spending a lot of money and a lot of time investing in the right person to bring into the business. When I try to be as disciplined as I can and try and understand exactly what it is that I'm trying to fulfill. And usually it's around about one of sort of three things. Typically, there's either a knowledge gap that we've identified within the business, and quite often, and certainly under private equity, when we were looking to build out thematic investments and bring people in to run areas where we thought might be faster growth in terms of market opportunities, and we didn't have those people within the firm, we looked at bringing someone in with relevant market experience around a subject matter that we didn't have anyone internally. So that was often sort of going into a new market and really trusting search firm and making sure we found the right search firm with the right knowledge, who can firstly give us the general view on the existing key candidates in that space who have made a name for themselves and have demonstrated real success in the market. But then we're also looking really to try and unearth those people who are real hidden gems, who are not quite at the top of the market, but people who are wanting to get there and perhaps ready for their next step. So there's the knowledge side. I think there's also the skills side as well. And again, this is something you have to discuss in real depth with any search firm that you're working with. Typically, you'll be looking for real technical skills. So we often found that there'd be something, either an area of financial expertise, or quite often it would be digital. So with the transformation and the speed of growth that we went through under private equity ownership, and obviously what's happening in the world over the past 10, 20 years anyway, we're really looking for those candidates in the digital world, either new CTOs, which we've hired in the past, or bringing in people that understand how to be product officers as well in particular areas. So it was essentially accelerating our business from a skills gap potential. That was an important side. And I think the other area as well is that when your business grows rapidly, you sometimes lack people with the experience of running larger, faster growing companies. And you just need people with experience who've gone through certain iterations of business as well. And so that typically applied to bringing in key candidates for the C-suite. So whether it was CTOs or chief product officers, head of business development, bringing in general counsel. When you're a smaller business, you probably didn't have those. But as you grew, that's where you had to identify key people. And that's where, in the C-suite side, a good search firm can really sort of narrow down the focus for you. If you're not using a search firm, it is like, usually one of your phrases, like boiling the ocean. It's very hard to find that candidate. So you need someone to really narrow it down for you and identify what it is in terms of experience that you're trying to bring to the business. So I'd say those are the three, generally, the three kind of areas.
Thanks for that, Ham. Just picking up on something that you, in the middle of that, you were talking about someone not quite at the top of their, I don't know what the right language is, range game. What's the reason for sort of one or two rungs down rather than the finished article? What's the thinking there?
So the difference between a good search firm and a average search firm, the average search firm will be very good. They'll have the technical capability to bring you some ideas and some names, be able to market map reasonably well. But the really good search firms will listen to you and try and identify people who are, it's the availability and the actionability of those potential candidates. Very often you'll have a list of people and names, and that's very helpful as a first idea to get an assessment of the market. But more often than not, those candidates will typically be tied in. They'll be on long-term incentive plans. They're harder to dislodge. They're often got more experience. And so what we've found is that it's been better to bring in someone who's got plenty of experience, but have got that absolute hunger to really step into that top role. It's quite hard to make it for them internally because they can see that there's a bit of a glass ceiling. And a good search firm unearths those absolute rare pearls who are just ready and ripe to step into the most senior positions.
Yeah, no, I get it. It makes sense. I was just thinking about when I work for you, whether I fit the bill or not. Probably not. But question, so I mean, maybe you've partly answered question two. So, one of my sort of standard questions is, what are the behaviors and sort of, what do you witness when you work with a really good search firm? Is there anything beyond that particular characteristic that you've seen?
There are really good people who understand, clearly listen and identify the opportunity with you. There are so many different ingredients that go into finding that right candidate. And it's that difference between having a general list of names where it's a bit like looking at a menu and trying to get you to select what type of characteristic and experience will work. Whereas the best people helping you on a search will come with ideas about people and candidates that are available, are the right fit. We all talk about culture as well. At a senior level, when you're hiring someone to be part of your culture. And that can be very purposeful in order to change a culture or change a team's dynamic and behavior. But ultimately, you've got to be extremely sensitive about the type of person that comes in. And a good search firm or someone helping you at a firm will be able to identify with you the likely impact that person is going to have. So there's a delicate balance between the suitability of the candidate and the impact that candidate is likely to have. And so the best search firm will marry those two bits together. So
listen, from my perspective, best of luck with Flintway. I'm sure it's a wildly successful, but it's only new, isn't it? I only think you're 12 months you've been going, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty new. I'm involved in about 6 or 7 investments now, and ironically, probably involved more in doing hires where a lot of these owner-managed businesses that I'm working with are desperate to put in senior people now to take the weight off their shoulders and accelerate the expansion stuff. So yeah, back to doing a lot of interviews again.